What about you? In today's video, we're going to be doing a full lawn renovation here. We're going to be aerating, scarifying, overseeding and putting on some seaweed. Let's go. So our first step in the process is hollow core aeration. What do this is, if you think of your garden as a sponge, if you can punch holes down into it, then it's going to let more air, water and light down into it, and it's going to perform a lot better. Over time, your lawn becomes compacted, and that's why we do the aeration. Today we're doing hollow core aeration, as it also removes some of the thatch out of the garden, and I'm going to show you that very shortly. The regulars to the channel will probably recognise this garden, as we film here pretty much every year, as it's just a nice garden and it's in a nice quiet location. However, if you're new to the channel, or if you have any questions or comments about the stuff that I'm covering today, always leave me a question down below, as I always try and answer your questions. So let's get on with it. To have a look at some of the cores out of this lawn, we'll take a look. You can see that we have our little bit of tufted grass on the top, and then this layer here, this is called thatch. Whenever we push it together, it's soft. Now, some thatch is healthy. Your lawn wants to have some thatch. You don't want to remove all thatch, especially too because there's some finer grasses in this lawn, like fescue. So to go back to our core, you can see we'll have our thatch layer, and then you can see that they'll have the roots going the whole way down through and right down to the bottom. So we'll have a look at another core. So there's one there. You can see a bit more thatch in this one, but we're getting the roots right down to the bottom. Now, just like your house, the roots are the foundation to your lawn, and if you have deeper roots, then you're going to have a better, more healthy plant. The next step in this process is scarification. We'll do this to remove the moss and the thatch. To have a look at some of the material we've pulled out, mostly at the minute, it's just grass, just some dead grass. Now, I'm going to be overseeding this one, so we're going to be a bit harder on this occasion, and we're going to lower the scarifier down, so as we're taking more out and we're getting further down into that thatch layer. So you can see now that we're starting to take more out, so let's have a quick look at it. You can see on this grass there's a bit of moss in there and a lot more grass, but you can see just how much extra we're taking out just by putting the machine down a little bit, just little bits and often. As you can see, Jason behind me is now on his second pass. He's now going across his stripes, so we're going in complete diagonals. We'll do this as it takes the most out. We can afford to do this as we're going to be seeding the lawn afterwards, so we can be harder on the lawn. The closer you bring those lines together, then the less you bring out. Whenever you bring them at diagonals, then you take the most out and you're the hardest on the lawn. let's get it cleared up. I want to give a quick shout out to my sponsors here, Milwaukee Tools UK. They recently sent me this dual battery M18 blower to try out, and I was really keen to try it out in a real world situation like this, and you can see how well it's shifted this material. Now let's get on and we'll get the rest of this cleared up and we'll get on to the next stage. Before we start into the seeding, I thought we'd have another chat about the scarifying. You can clearly see that there's lines in the soil here. Now, with a petrol scarifier, you can do this without too much issue. If you're at home and you're using an electric scarifier, if you try and do this, you might damage your equipment. So always check beforehand. But we put these lines in the soil, and then our next step is we'll come along and seed, and we put the seed on, and the seed falls down into those little holes where the seed lands on top. That's going to get wasted, but it's the seed that gets down in those little tracks, and then we put the drag mat on the lawn, and that drags the seed in, and it helps close those lines over, and it means that the seed has somewhere really nice and safe to grow. So let's do that now. If you're seeding your own lawn and you're unsure of how much seed to use, the best thing to do is to break your lawn down into quadrants or smaller spaces, and then weigh enough out for that area and then spread it out that way. To show you what I was talking about, to get the seed down into the lines, you can see here that we have seed right down in, and whenever we drag it, it's going to close that over. And then that seed's going to grow lovely in there. Now the seed sitting on top, it might not grow, but the seed down in these lines, that will grow. Our next step is to take this metal drag mat and pull it over the lawn. For regulars to my channel, we've made one of these out of rubber. I'm going to leave the link where you can get these down in the video description. Now let's get on with it and get this dragged in. Time for me to do some work. Our next step is to put on some fertiliser. While Jason's feeding the lawn, I thought we'd have a chat about when you should cut your garden after you overseed, because I get a lot of questions about this. You could, if you wanted, cut the next day. Hell, you could cut this afternoon, but you have to think about the good of the plant and everything else. I would always say for a lawn like this, or for an everyday lawn, at least 2 to 3 weeks. We're filming this in the middle of September, and there's a lot of rain. It's actually trying to rain here at the minute, so we're going to have to hurry this up. We've got the warm and we've got the heat, and that grass seed is going to grow pretty quick within a week, and then we want to give it another week to get up and out of the ground before we even consider for a minute putting a lawnmower on. So you want to leave it 2 to 3 weeks. If your lawn's growing like mad, you can go out and cut the grass, but if you do, just put it on a really high height so as you're not damaging the little grass seeds below. Now it's really raining, so I'm going to have to put the camera away. So to get this finished off, Jason's going to put the seaweed on the lawn. So we're now on to our final step. We'll put on the seaweed. This video, when you want to learn more about lawn renovation, watch this video next.